The first thing that we hear a lot of at the Springfield-Greene County Health Department is people making the assumption that if they are exposed to an individual who tests positive for COVID-19 and they themselves test negative, then they're good to go ahead and end their quarantine and head back to work. This is actually not the case. So if you are in close contact, so that's within 6 feet for more than 15 cumulative minutes while someone is contagious with COVID-19, you do still have to quarantine. Recently, the CDC has offered updated guidance on quarantine and reduced it from 14 days down to 10-day quarantine. However, if you do test negative on day 5 of your quarantine, so 5 days from the last close contact that you had with someone who was positive for COVID-19, your quarantine can end on day 7, assuming that you do not have any COVID-19 symptoms. For questions on this, we really encourage you to reach out to the health department and ask. We can help you create that timeline and figure out when you need to get tested and when your quarantine can end. Something else that we hear a lot from people is that if they're exposed to COVID-19 and they're not showing any symptoms, that they can continue going to work because they work for an essential business or they perform an essential function in our community. However, in Greene County, there are not businesses that are able to continue having people in the workplace that are supposed to be quarantining. The only individuals that are eligible for what we would call a modified quarantine, which would be wearing a mask at all times, staying 6 feet apart from other employees, monitoring for symptoms with daily screenings. The only individuals eligible for this modified quarantine are going to be our healthcare workers, as well as our first responders like police, fire, and EMS. Anybody else, while they definitely do work for some essential businesses and perform essential functions in our community, to help prevent the spread of COVID-19, we are continuing to ask those individuals to stay at home, to quarantine for the prescribed amount of time, and to monitor for symptoms and get tested to ensure that we're not allowing COVID-19 to spread in their workplaces. One of the most important things lately that we have been talking about here at the Springfield-Greene County Health Department is that you don't need to wait. So a lot of times some people think that if they have an employee who tests positive, a family member, or they themselves test positive for COVID-19, that they need to wait by the phone and wait for a call from the Springfield-Greene County Health Department to find out what to do next. However, you don't need to wait. All of the information that we are going to be providing to you, for the most part, is available online. If you go to our website at health.springfieldmo.gov, you can find information on what to do if you've been exposed, what to do if you test positive, and what to do if you have an employee who tests positive. So for those individuals, we would just ensure if you've tested positive that you are staying home, you're isolating not only from those around you, but anybody in your house, if it's possible for you to isolate from people in your household, and to contact your healthcare provider if your symptoms worsen. One of the other things that we sometimes hear from people in the community, or even sometimes from employees and business owners, is that when there is a case of COVID-19 in a business or in a workplace, sometimes there's the assumption that that workplace needs to close down for a certain period of time. However, the Springfield-Greene County Health Department does not ask businesses to close their doors if they have cases of COVID-19. So you might see a business that has closed its doors and said that it's due to COVID-19. That might mean one of two things. It either means that they've closed down so that way they can do a deep clean and they can really sanitize their space. However, some businesses are able to do that without closing their doors for any significant period of time. The other reason might be because so many employees had been exposed due to a positive employee or customer in that business, they simply don't have the staff to continue running for that period of time. So you may see a few days where individuals are in quarantine, and as soon as they have staff to open back up, they will. But to reiterate, we don't ask businesses to close because they have positive cases of COVID-19.